So I've been thinking, how did Syndrome get, in The Incredibles when he has like this island that's populated with 100 or so generic white male henchmen? Like, I want to see that Craigslist ad. Like, this isn't Venture Brothers, so I want to know, like, in this semi-realistic universe, how did he acquire so many willing accomplices to his various crimes and child punching? Like, he had to get these people and be like, wanted, generic white man to help defend sketchy island-based war business, must be willing to never see their family again, and kill children. Like, must be morally bankrupt. It's just like, I always think about this, like, there's the dude, he's in the flying saucer, and Dash is learning how to punch him, and then he just, like, punches Dash, and Dash is 10 years old, and it's like, yeah, I just punched a kid, what of it? And then he dies, which technically means that Dash was, like, he didn't murder him, but, like, Dash did kill that dude because he exploded against a cliff because Dash distracted him, and I don't think that his parents ever got him therapy. Anyway, so Hellbound, it's going to be out soon, and I'm so excited, and I remembered that I wanted to talk about stuff. I wanted to talk about feminism and the stuff that I had to take out of it to make it more 2021 viable, and so that's what this video is going to be about. Very quickly, I considered myself to be a feminist back in 2010-ish when I wrote this book, maybe 2009. And I was in college. I was a sophomore in college, and I thought I was being so progressive with this book. I had this idea where I was going to like meld different religions and make it all like new religion, but also like the female main character eventually, after I stopped making her a Mary Sue, was going to be like this, aggro, badass, like, ooh, yeah, I'm tough kind of girl, and she's not going to need a man until she does need a man. And my idea was that I had these characters that are like the devil and God, but not really, where they're yin and yang. So the idea was that they balance each other. So one of them is omnipotent, and the other one is omniscient, and one of them takes care of hell, and the other one takes care of heaven. And I thought I was being super progressive by making the one that takes care of heaven gay. Like, that was my idea of like, whoa, I'm really out there. When I reread the book at this age that I am now, whatever age I look like to you, that's the age I am, I realized that I thought I was being progressive, but I made the universe so that these two deities, these entities, came to existence as a result of humanity, right? And they changed based on humanity's changes. So it was like, as humans evolved and became more civilized and learned how to use computers and whatever, so too did these two kind of human-like entities evolve from being, Cro-Magnon man, like, human caveman sort of thing, to being people who wore suits and loafers and stuff. And it's kind of progressive in that, like, the idea that rather than the gods of this universe forming humans in their image, it's the other way around. The humans formed the gods in their image. But I decided that these gods came up as a result of society, and in making the two gods both men, I was making a statement about society and who rules it, right? And so I reread it and I was like, that was my idea, to make them both men, but one of them is gay. Like, I still was saying that, like, men have all the power. And so I changed it. A lot of this book I had to change to take out things that were, like, slut-shaming, fat-shaming, like, accidentally buying into the patriarchy. And one of the things was I made it so that the dude who runs hell is a dude, and the person who runs heaven is a woman whose sexual orientation leans towards other women, but also they're both immortal, not really human deities. And so, like, I don't imagine they'd also, like, care too much about that. If one of them wanted to just, like, have relations with somebody that they didn't typically have relations with, I don't think they would lose a second of sleep, if they even sleep. I don't know. So that was like, the revelation to me was that I considered myself a feminist, but I was so deeply entrenched in a patriarchal mindset that I was unwittingly still kind of buying into it. Not to say that, like, including a gay character in such an important role is important. But it could go further to say, like, women can have power too, right? And another thing was that I kind of played down the main character's Jewishness, and I think I did that as a way of, like, protecting myself, because I know that we don't see a lot of Jewish main characters in books, and also that there are still Nazis out there, and it feels like there's some sort of unconscious need to, like, make sure I'm not flaunting being Jewish to the general population. So I did actually play up her Jewishness a little bit in the book as well. As far as things I needed to change, this is fun. I'm in no particular order. It's the stuff that I'm going to remember. I had to take out all reference to Facebook. This is something I learned my first year of teaching, was that Facebook became passé. I live in whatever, like, I think my brain's stuck in 2010 mode, or even before that, because Twitter is something that I didn't start using until last year. And so Facebook was the social media to me. And it wasn't until I left my bubble and went to teach the youths of today that I learned that not only was Facebook passé, but Twitter was passé. And so I learned that if I created any kind of social media, if I used any kind of social media, that it could very well become passé. It could date the book. And so I made one up. I made up Connect Me, and that's just a generic social media, so that way it'll never be out of date. Sarah Dessen does this too in her books. I've read a lot of Sarah Dessen's books. She was also tied up in a controversy a while back, and I was not too happy with her. But then again, she's not that good of a writer. I guess maybe she'll never see this, right? Okay, she'll never see this. She creates decent plots and stories that, pull me along, but they follow the same kind of formula, and her books are very hit and miss. Like, she's not a bad writer by any means, but some of her books really shine, and some of them fall kind of flat to me, but a couple of them really do stand out. Where am I going with this? Right, so Sarah Dessen created Umi, the letter U-M-E, as her, like, fake social media. So the other things that I've changed, I had to take out reference to Trogdor. There was, when I was in high school, we had to buy our own school supplies. This was something that my students didn't have to do. All their books and supplies were provided for them for the most part, but we had to buy everything. And so I had this TI 84 Plus Silver Edition calculator for my math classes, and I got stickers, and I had a Trogdor sticker on my calculator, and that Trogdor sticker was referenced in the book. When Aiden, the main character dude, sits down with Alicia, the synopsis for my book is always going to be in the doobly-doo. So if you don't know what this book is about, just, like, read description, yes? But he sees her computer, and he sees a sticker on her computer, and the original version said, what is that? What's Trogdor? And she was like, you don't know Trogdor? But, like, I was in 8th grade when Homestar Runner was exciting to me. So I had to take that out. That was very painful to me. I instead made up, again, so as not to date it, I made up a kind of like Charlie the Unicorn, a Big Mouth-esque TV show called Fortune Stone Unicorn Detective, and I just made it that. I had to take out all references to clocks, except for in school, because I did still look at clocks when I was teaching, even though my iPad often had the time right in front of me. And so the original Alicia had an alarm clock, and I had to change it to just her using her phone. A lot of things got changed to just, I used my phone to do blank. So no more asking for directions, because there's an app for that, and no more, checking the time on watches or clocks. There's your phone for that. No more alarm clock. There's your phone for that. So no more radio when they're in the car. There's just kind of a reference to just putting on music, because a lot of the time, there's an app or a car phone hookup thing where you hook up the phone with a wire, right? So I had to take all that out. Another thing I had to change was something I don't think I ever would have figured out if I hadn't taught for so long, but I had to take out notebooks, because as far as I can tell, more and more schools are going one-to-one with technology these days. My students had iPads instead of notebooks, right? So they could have had notebooks if they wanted to, but for the most part, they did everything on their iPads. I wasn't even sure if I could keep referencing textbooks and binders, so I stuck with textbooks. And so that's kind of stuff that's changing as well. I don't know if this is fascinating to anyone else besides me. I find it really interesting, because this book essentially is 10 years old. So in one decade, all of this stuff has changed. And for people who are trying to write right now, it might be useful to know that there are certain things that are in danger of dating your book that you don't even think about, like using a clock or using the wrong social media. And so I had to be very careful with that. I took out one reference to putting something on YouTube, because even that I don't know. Like, I feel like they would put on TikTok, if anything, if students filmed a short clip of, like, as a prank and, put it on any social media. I think it would be TikTok more than YouTube. So I had to take that out just in case. There's probably other stuff. If I think of anything I forget, I will put it in the doobly-doo below the synopsis. But I think that that's just a really interesting creative writing perspective of just kind of what stereotypes are you unwittingly playing into, and, what is accidentally going to make your novel not relevant anymore 2 years down the line, 10 years down the line, because you want something that has a bit of lasting power, right? I think the only concession I allowed myself, because it's like the teeniest, tiniest little throwaway joke, was a reference to zoo books. This is one of those 90s kids will understand things, but like, I still remember zoo books commercials, so I made a zoo books reference because I can do that. Anyway, I think I've been rambling for too long. In conclusion, be feminist. And if somebody tells you to stop being feminist, get a megaphone and be feminist louder. Times change. So be careful what you put in your book, because references get old really fast. And Syndrome found a lot of white, middle-aged, generic men who were ready and willing to kill children for money, I guess. I guess there's a lot of bad people out there. I don't know if you had like a YouTube pre-roll ad or what, but that's going to keep me up for a while. Thanks for listening to my thoughts. Like and subscribe. I'm supposed to say that. I'm going to put stuff not only here, but like all around, supposedly. Little windows into my world. You can see how I make pancakes, and you can see the video that precedes this one. This is literally going to be labeled part 2, so, I think it's shorter than this one too, so you might want to watch part 1. But yeah, like and subscribe, and I will ramble at you some more about writing. And okay, bye.